With the latest update to PSO2 Global, we can now get our hands on some really good 15-star weapons, such as the Atlas EX series, the Trailblazer series, and the Ophistia series. Now, these should all last us at least a few months, and they're all pretty easy to get too, but the process for obtaining each is slightly different, and somewhat convoluted. So at first it may be a little off-putting, but I assure you that it's actually quite simple once you break it down one step at a time. It should also be mentioned now that at the time of this video's release, we will not be able to complete a Trailblazer weapon for a few weeks until we get the Persona Urgent Quest. However, we can prepare almost everything we need starting now. And with that out of the way, let's get right into each series one by one. And to do so, we first need to make our way to the cast NPC Zig in the shop area, as he will have all the weapon upgrades going forward. Now, I actually like to start with Ophistia, as it's actually one of the simplest ones to make, as in it has the least amount of steps, and it has a very low barrier to entry outside of one part, but even then, that one part is only gated by a few million Meseta. So, all you need for Ophistia is a plus 35 Nemesis, Raven, Invade, and Ares weapon of the same type and 400 X cubes, and that's it. Now, you can actually buy all 4 of these weapon types right off the player market for about a million or so Meseta each depending on the weapon. But the Ares weapons are a bit more pricey as they currently only drop from Ultimate Quests and some Urgent Quests. You can also get all of these weapons, except for the Ares weapons, from the Badge Exchange shop for unique weapon badges. But again, remember that this stuff from the shop only comes with a grind cap of 30. Anyways, when you finally get to the part to combine them all, and make the new weapon, you will be given a choice of which weapon's properties you would like to use as the base weapon for the new weapon, as in which weapon's element and augments would you like to use on the new weapon. So ideally, for every weapon series going forward, you are going to want one of the required weapons to always be light element and or have 7 or 8 augment slots if possible. Yes, you can always change the element later, and you can always upslot later too. But again, if possible, if you buy some of the stuff off the market, try to just get one that already has a lot of slots on it. It might cost slightly more, but it's really worth it. Even if you aren't into augmenting now, you'll be saving yourself a lot of hassle and Meseta later on. Furthermore, you will also be able to switch the Ophistia potential to a better potential with a specific item we'll be getting in the future. But for now, that's actually just about it for Ophistia. However, keep in mind that you can actually make as many of these as you would want, whereas you can only make so many Atlases and Trailblazer weapons per account. Now, this does not exactly mean you should be making too many of them, as they are generally regarded as the slightly weaker version of the other 15-star weapons. That being said, it's still a very decent weapon and is great for your classes that aren't using Atlas or Trailblazer in the meantime. Next up is the Atlas EX series, and for this one, you'll be needing a plus 35 Lumiere and plus 35 Atlas weapon of the same type and 400 X cubes. Now, the order in which you make these does not matter. So long as you have a Lumiere and Atlas of the same type at the end of the day, that's all that's needed. Starting with Atlas, you'll first need a Val weapon, which you can get pretty cheap and usually with a lot of slots too right off the market. You can also get them from the Crimson and Black Dragon Urgent Quests, and from a collection folder too. But remember, if you go the collection folder route, you will need 6 copies, whereas they are usually readily available on the market with a plus 35 grind cap. To then turn this Val into an Atlas at Zig, you will first need to grind it to plus 35. And will also need 1000 Sephard and 1000 of another gold material depending on the weapon type. You will then also require a Cronus Eternus Stone, which you can only get from a title reward after grinding a Val weapon to plus 35. From the 600 title reward, and it was also a reward in the previous mission pass as well. Once that's all set, you can set your Atlas aside for now, and you can work on your Lumiere weapon now, which requires a plus 35 Judas, Chevelle, and upgraded supernatural weapon of the same type. Now, every weapon required to make these drops in the Buster Quests, and are usually readily available on the market for very cheap too. And some can also even be found in collection folders, exchange shops, and even drop in the Bewitched Woods as well. Anyways, getting right to the required weapons, Judas is the simplest step of the 3, as there's only one step for it, which is acquire a Judas weapon and get it to plus 35. Next, to make the upgraded supernatural weapon, you guessed it, you need a plus 35 normal supernatural weapon, but we'll also need some Chaos Malice stones, and you can get those for 2 Rising Weapon Badge 4s each. They also drop in the Bewitched Woods, from the Dragon Urgent Quest, and possibly from other Urgent Quests as well. Then, for the last weapon, the Chevelle weapon, you first need a plus 35 Evlita weapon. Then upgrade that to Clesis along with 60 Clesis boosters. Then upgrade that to Chevelle with 60 Chevelle boosters. Now, both booster types can be found in the Rising Weapon Badge 4 exchange, and also drop in main match Buster quests. Furthermore, you can exchange 10 Buster medals for 1 Clesis booster at the Buster Exchange shop. And lastly, you can also exchange 5 Clesis boosters for 1 Chevelle booster at Zig by selecting material item in any weapon upgrade category. Once you have all 3 of those weapons all set, you can combine them all into a Lumiere. Like I showed with Ophistia, it will ask you which weapon you will want to use for the new weapons element and augments. This means you only need one of those weapons to be the appropriate element and with high slots. And if you ended up getting a high slot weapon for your Val, then you don't really need to worry about which weapon you pick for the Lumiere part, as Zig will yet again ask which weapon you want to use as the base when you finally combine the Atlas and Lumiere together to make the EX in the last step. And that's about it for the Atlas EX series. All in all, it's not such a bad process now that you can buy just about everything you need right off the market. Last but not least, we have the Trailblazer series. And in case you missed what I said at the beginning, at the time of this video's release, we will not be able to complete a Trailblazer weapon for a few weeks until we get the Persona Urgent Quest. However, we can prepare almost everything we need starting now, so I'm going to just break it down like I did the other weapons, as we'll have access to everything soon enough. So for the Trailblazer series, we need a Starquake weapon, some X-Cubes, and a Founder's Amphitrite. Now, the Founder's Amphitrite is to the Trailblazer series as the Chronos Eternistone is to the Atlas series, as in there's only so many of them you can get per account. Currently, you can get one from the existing mission pass, but keep in mind that ends on November 25th. You can also acquire these from a title reward after defeating Darkfowl's Persona 50 times. Getting back to the Starquake weapon, you will need a plus 35 Profound, Detonation, Claudium, Allure, and Zeriar weapon, and 150 Void Erebit. The cool part about this is that these weapons can be any type, as in any category. So long as they are all plus 35 in the end, that's all you need. And most of them can even be bought directly off the market too, and can be found in the Rising Weapon Badge 4 exchange as well. Furthermore, they can also all drop from specific Dark Falls, and from the Bewitched Woods too. Now, the only thing we cannot get our hands on right now is Void Erebit, which is from the Persona UQ, which again is not out at the current time, but will be out again very soon. However, when stepping back and taking a look at the big picture, the process is actually very simple. Start by getting your hands on all of the weapons needed, then grind them to plus 35. Then work towards getting a total of 165 Void Erebit when running Dark Falls Persona Quest when it becomes available. Then pick up a Profound weapon when possible with 15 Erebits and grind it to 35. Then combine everything together to make a Starquake weapon once you get the rest of the Erebits you need. After that, it's smooth sailing to Trailblazer so long as you have the X-Cubes and Founder's Amphitrite on hand. And that's it. So, I hope that after watching all that you now all have a much better idea of how the new weapon series upgrades work. I'll now wrap this up by leaving you with some more info about each, such as their potentials and S-grade augment slots. And until next time, take care.